This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Opsgenie by Atlassian. With Opsgenie, your next incident doesn't stand a chance. Visit Opsgenie.com for your free account. And by Mack Weldon, Modern Men's Essentials. For 20% off your first order, visit MacWeldon.com and enter promo code MacVoices at checkout. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is Holiday Gift Guide show number 3. I can't believe we're up to number 3 already. We've had so many good picks from previous panels, and I know we're going to have some good picks with this one. Unfortunately, we did have one member who had to bow out on us at the last minute, but I figured, what the heck? It's still a party with 3. So let's find out who's here, and then we'll get to the good stuff. First up, back again with us, Mr. Mike Schmitz. Mike, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for inviting me again.
It's always a pleasure. Seems like time slips by and we never talk enough, but I'm delighted to have you here for the gift shows. And you have it looks like a holiday theme in the background, you know, with the panel and everything. It looks like you're in a remote ski lodge somewhere. I love it.
Kind of. This is my parents bought a place last year in Door County, and I come up here every once in a while, especially in the winter when there's no one else around. So now that it's after Labor Day, all the tourists are gone. There's nobody up here, so it's a great environment to focus and crank out, you know, some big projects that I've been working on. So
just you and Sasquatch up there hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you.
Thank you.
And also, sort of in his neck of the woods, I guess, Mr. Andrew Orr, back from the Mac Observer. Andrew, it's great to have you again.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's time to get excited for the holidays.
God, it's hard to believe that the holidays are just crashing down upon us already. And frankly, by the time this is out, at least one of the holidays will probably have already occurred, or should be impending one way or the other. But, you know, part of the holidays is gift giving and gift getting, and sometimes even creating your own little wish list of things you would like. So that's what the Mac Voices holiday gift guides are all about. Folks, a couple notes. First of all, you don't have to take any notes, because we'll have links to everything that is picked in this show in the show notes to this particular episode. I'm also maintaining a master list of all the gift guide picks from all the panels on the Mac Voices blog at macvoices.blog. And third, if you prefer something of a little more graphical nature with pretty pictures and everything that you can flip through, you will find a Mac Voices Holiday Gift Guide 2018 magazine on Flipboard. So check all of those out, pick the one that you like the best, and make your wish list. So, Mike, how about if we give you, since you have the most festive background, we'll give you the first pick for round 1. All
right. My first pick is going to be the Ember Coffee Mug, which is a Bluetooth-enabled coffee mug that I saw at an Apple store not too long ago, where you can control the temperature of the liquid inside of it. So if you pour yourself a coffee and you don't get to it right away, the Ember mug will actually keep it warm for you. It'll also integrate with the health app. So if you wanted to track how much caffeine you're drinking, not that I don't know why anyone would want to know that, but it's there if you want it. It's going to sync with your iOS devices in the health app as well. And I just think this is a really cool idea. This is the first thing that I thought of when I knew we were going to be doing this, because this is the kind of thing that I would not buy for myself, but I would love if I got it as a gift. It's like $80 for a coffee mug, and when you try to justify like $80 for a coffee mug, come on, I've got a bunch of mugs sitting at home, but this one just looks so cool, and it's tech enabled, and I can track everything. You know, self what's that called? Quantified self. You know, I just think this looks really cool.
Do we need to start a self-help program for you with quantified everything, that you just love
Maybe.
to track everything?
Data.
Yeah. Yeah, because what I just heard is it will tell me how much caffeine I consume. It'll keep it at exactly the right temperature. I'm sure you would figure out some way to monitor that temperature so it's going up and down, and what the rate of thermal loss is to your coffee in this mug or something. So,
well, you do need to drink your coffee at the right temperature in order to get the full flavor from your coffee. So there's definitely some flavor benefits that come with this as well.
I'm sorry I brought it up. Okay. Good. No, hey, we've never had a Bluetooth-enabled mug on the show before, so good job. Andrew, round number 1. What are you going to start with?
Yeah, so my first pick is called the Everlast notebook. It's by a company called Rocketbook. And it's this notebook that it gives you this traditional pen and paper notebook, except that the paper is made out of this special kind of material, and it's synced to the cloud. So you can write in it, draw in it, whatever you want, and it's synced to a lot of different cloud services, actually. It has optical character recognition, too. So if you use their app, you can transcribe and search all your handwritten notes. And the main reason that I thought this was interesting is that they're touting it as being environmentally friendly. So if you use their notebook along with one of their pens, it's reusable. So all you have to do is take some water and a cloth or paper towel or whatever and just wipe the ink off each page, and it's pretty much infinitely reusable.
So let me make sure I get it straight. So you write on the page, it recognizes the characters, and it syncs the notes with the cloud?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, and the other reason why I liked it is that it syncs to Google Drive, Evernote, Dropbox, OneDrive, OneNote, Slack, Box, iCloud, iMessage, and email. So it's not like it's locking into its own service or anything. So I think that's a big plus.
Yeah, that is nice. That's especially for those of us who, the OCR is not going to help my handwriting, but the syncing to the cloud would. So, and I'm serious about that. I mean, some people are very meticulous about their handwriting, and some of us aren't. And so the idea that it would sync regardless of whether it can do the OCR or not, I would really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. I backed the original Rocketbook when it was a Kickstarter, I think. And I like the idea of wiping the pages clean better than putting it in the microwave, which is what you had to do with the first one.
Yeah, I noticed that. They have several different models, and one of them, it's called the Wave, and you stick it in the microwave.
Why do you put it in the microwave? I understand to erase pages, but what's the mechanism?
I have no idea how it works. To be honest, I was always too scared to put paper in the microwave.
Actually, when I was reading about that model too, I couldn't really figure it out either. So I'm assuming maybe it's just a special type of ink that they use that's maybe reacts to heat in some way.
Yeah, probably that friction pen that you can get with it.
Interesting. Okay, good. Another unique pick. Thank you. I'm going to start out for round 1. I'm going to start out small. In one of the previous shows, I had picked Apple's AirPods. This time, I'm going to pick one of these little cases for wraparound cases for your AirPods case. They're like a rubbery case. They fit very, very well. It does not impede the lid at all, except for the possibility that may encourage it to close a little faster than normal. But one thing it does is it gives you a little loop there that you can then thread anything through, or a carabiner, and hang your AirPod case from your belt or your backpack or whatever. But The other thing is that it does offer a certain measure of protection should you drop this on a hard surface. As much as I love that white AirPod case, it always just feels like it might be just a little delicate. And I feel like with this, it can take a little bit more of a lick and not have a problem. But the third thing is this thing comes in all kind of colors. And I have found it so much easier if I put this down on a messy desk or really anywhere. For some reason, white, your eye just goes right over it. But if you choose a nice bright color, you can pick it out real quick. Same thing if it slides into the bottom of my backpack. It's a lot easier for me to find this than the white for whatever reason. Not terribly expensive. There are some models that, if you're so inclined, you can use they have wireless charging built in to the case. So now your AirPods can be charged wirelessly.
Oh, wow.
I didn't go that direction. I just wanted something simple that offered just a little more protection because the AirPods are fairly pricey. But I really like it. There's no reason not to. And it also distinguishes your case from everybody else's. So a simple, practical little pick.
Does it come in different kinds of materials?
Andrew, there's some, not from necessarily this particular manufacturer. I just saw one come out the other day, with a fine leather wraparound case for your iPad or your AirPod case. And okay. I'm sorry, I just, at some point, I don't see the point. I'm looking for protection here. I'm not looking for something luxurious to carry my AirPods in. But That's me, and, each to their own. So
yeah, I would probably buy that just for that loop. I think it'd be really handy to just hook it up onto my backpack and just, go places where I need to be, where I don't necessarily want, my pockets full of stuff.
It's surprising how simple and useful that can be. I know that it's not quite the design aesthetic of the AirPod case, which is such a nice, smooth little pill sort of design. But it's if you have the need for a loop, it's there, and it's just a nice. It's one more extra to encourage you to buy this. So I'd say go check it out.
I like the fact that it gives you some cushioning if you were to drop your AirPods case, which I never thought about, but now I'm going to be terrified of. So thank you.
Happy to do it, Mike.
That never even occurred to me.
It's all about sharing my paranoia. Okay, well, we're off to a good start. And I sometimes I do like these smaller panels because it seems like we go through the rounds quicker because I'm anxious to see what Mike will pick next.
Man, I'm trying to decide between another coffee gift or a practical gift. I think I'm going to go the practical route, seeing as you just mentioned the AirPods case. One of the things that I put on the list, which people may scoff at, is extra long iPhone cables. So the 2-meter ones. I think they're $29 on the Apple Store. And anybody that I've ever told that you should get these has said, well, I don't need a 2-meter iPhone cable. But then you also see people who are sitting on their couch like this because that's as far as their cable will go. So you get a couple of these, you plug them in outlets behind your couch or other places where you typically would use an iOS device and have to plug it in. And it's so nice. It's so much better than trying to charge things on a 3-meter cable, and then also having these extra cables. Like we have some that are just strategically placed in our house. I've got one in the sitting area of my office. We've got one behind the couch in the living room, and it's nice that when you sit down, like it's right there. It's within arm's reach if you need to charge your AirPods, because AirPods are great, but especially for calls like this where you're using a microphone, they die, pretty quick. And I never really realized that my case is running low on battery till it's dead. So plug it in real quick, or you need to charge your phone real quick. They're really, really handy. And having that extra couple feet makes all the difference.
Yeah.
You know, it makes perfect sense, and that's an observation I've watched people do all kind of gymnastics to try to charge their phone and still use it. Never even occurred to me that the simple solution is just to get a longer cord and that they sell them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember what the price difference is, but it's not much, if anything. And if you don't want to pay the $29 from the Apple Store to get the official ones, like you can get an Anchor one off of Amazon. I think I got a couple of those actually on like a Black Friday deal for $5 a piece or something. But the Apple ones tend to work better for me. I've noticed with the Anchor ones, sometimes they will charge an iPad, sometimes they won't. And someone with more technical knowledge than me could tell you why that is, I'm sure. But the Apple cables work with all the great things.
Yeah, and I was just going to say the one thing, please. I seem to harp on this a lot for some reason on the show, but these are cables that pass power into your device. So go for somebody like Anchor who's reputable. Buy the Apple cable. Spend a couple extra bucks. Don't take the chance of frying your device. It's not worth it for a $2.99 cable that is 2 meters. Just don't do it. Right. So good.
Yeah, I ended up getting a nice 6-foot-long Anchor cable, and I absolutely love it. It's so handy.
6 feet? Wow. Okay.
Yep. 2 meters. I think that's the longest one that Apple makes. And you think to yourself, that's way too long. I don't need all that cable laying around. But trust me, you'll need it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm thinking of some situations traveling when that would have been very handy to have. I grant you. So good. But sorry, Mike, that means you've blown your opportunity for just a coffee only theme.
I know.
So, okay. Just so you're aware. Andrew, round 2.
Yeah, so this is a service that I've used probably almost 1.5 years now. I'm sure almost everyone is familiar with the app. It's called Visco. It's a really nice photo editing app and camera app. And they have their own membership program. It's called Visco X. And I really love it. So it costs $20 a year. And what you get is you have access to their entire library of presets. I think I saw on the website that they have like 130 presets. And what's different about Visco X is that they have this special series of presets that are designed to emulate film. It's called Film X. And they come up with one new film each month. And I'm pretty sure members also get access to certain editing tools. I know they recently came up with a tool to add borders, and I think there was something else too. But if you're a photographer, especially a mobile photographer, I definitely recommend this. I probably use Visco like 90% of the time for my own use.
Okay, that's so. You're talking about filters that emulate film. Is that a correct statement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they make these. They ended up building their own machine learning system, and they scan film, and somehow they use software to try to emulate it.
I've never been enough of a photographer to really appreciate, other than the obvious visual differences, why. I mean, I guess to me a picture is a picture, but on the other hand, you see some of the filters and they definitely make things look better and different. So, but I know of the app. I've never used it. Why do you prefer it, Andrew?
I guess, well, personally, I love that traditional film look. I mean, I only shoot photos with my iPhone. I've never done, traditional film. And I think I've used a whole bunch of different editing apps, and Visco is one of the ones that I've stuck with.
Okay, good.
I've heard of
Thank you.
Visco, and my wife's a wedding photographer, so I feel like I should know more about this app than I do.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because there are filters that are best used in certain situations. Like there are ones that are great for landscape, ones that are great for portrait and weddings, and then nature shots, and then urban shots. So there's a huge variety of different ones.
Okay, great. Now I've got something else to check out this weekend. Okay. Good pick. Good pick. I'm kind of debating on my second one, but I think I'll go with this. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the suite of utilities called Parallels Toolbox, but this is it's a subscription thing, so it's like $10 a year. But when you load it, it will put a bunch of tools up in your toolbar. Just you pull it down and use them. They're all little one-trick things, but they're super useful. And I have to say that across the board, they're all pretty darn good, because they can take the place of a lot of standalone apps to do different things. And I'm going to have to read it to you, because I'm only going to read some of them. But in the Parallels Toolbox, at your command from your menu bar, airplane mode, alarm, archive, block camera, capture screen, capture window, clean drive, convert video, download audio, download video, do not disturb, do not sleep, find duplicates, free memory, hidden files, hide desktop, make GIF, mute microphone, presentation mode, record audio, record window, resize images, screenshot page, stopwatch, switch resolution, take photo, take video, timer, etc., etc., etc. It's again, these are designed to be, just I need to do something quick, so I reach up there, I pull it down, and I do it. But I have to say, the one that I've used probably the most is the one that will let you download videos from YouTube. I love that, because there are times that I'm going to be offline, or I just want the convenience of not having to stream it, but I have something that's a little more lengthy that I want to watch. And it works like a champ. You just paste the URL in, and all of a sudden you've got the video. So for $10 for all those utilities, it is absolutely well worth it. $10 per year. And they keep adding things. The list that I just read you was only a partial list, and it has grown since the first time that I used Parallels Toolbox. The other one I love, and Mike, I think you'll appreciate this, is presentation mode, where it mutes everything, it blocks out anything that can interrupt your presentation. So you engage that, and you are essentially isolated from the outside world to do your presentation. I have not tested it from the standpoint of it blocking my internet connection, so I don't know about that, but I know it silences my alarms and everything, so I love that. But just all those little things packed into one utility for that kind of price is spectacular.
Yeah, that presentation mode sounds pretty cool. I'm looking at the website right now. Looks like they have different versions of it. The one you were talking about was the screen and video pack, it sounds like, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then there's the presentation pack and the disk and system pack. But yeah, these look great.
Yeah. It's well worth checking out. Obviously, I don't use all of those tools, but and sometimes the biggest effort is just to remember, hey, yeah, Parallels Toolbox does have this sitting up there waiting for me. So, yeah, go check it out.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Today's edition of Mac Voices is sponsored by Mack Weldon, the maker of modern men's essentials. If you're purchasing tech gear, you probably do lots of research. Spend lots of time reviewing and comparing to make sure you get the best value for your money and the best product possible. But when it comes time for new underwear, socks, and the like, I bet you hit the department store, pick up whatever brand you recognize, and head for the door. Well, no more. It's time you knew about Mack Weldon. Mack Weldon puts the same amount of attention into their products that many of the tech companies put in theirs. In some cases, probably more. Mack Weldon designs their own fabric to make sure that the fit is the same each time, and details matter. That's why Mack Weldon pays so much attention to things like lay-flat collars, no-roll waistbands, and mesh cooling zones to assure that, whatever you're wearing now, theirs is better. Next, they created a premium shopping experience, so you can find what you want quickly and with all the options easily accessed and understood. The final piece of Mack Weldon gear in my first order was the 18-hour jersey t-shirt, and it is, without question, the most comfortable t-shirt I've ever had. Mack Weldon points out features like a forward seam for no friction, a stay-tucked length, and a slim fit. All I know is that it is comfortable to wear under every shirt I tried it with, but not feeling like it added a layer. So what's my favorite piece of Mack Weldon? All of them. There's nothing I didn't like that I got in my first order, nothing I can't recommend, and nothing I won't reorder. I'm afraid Mack Weldon has spoiled me, and they can spoil you too. Visit MacWeldon.com right now, pick your gear, and then use the code MacVoices at checkout to take 20% off your first order. I really love my Mack Weldon essentials, and you're going to love yours. But to do that, you have to order first. So again, MacWeldon.com, that's MacWeldon.com, and the code MacVoices at checkout to take 20% off your first order. Thanks to Mack Weldon for their support of MacVoices. So that puts us halfway through. And usually at halfway through, you're starting to stress a little bit about, okay, I've got all these great things on my list and I don't know what to pick next. So, Mike, are we going to do another coffee pick or are you going another direction?
Well, I want to make sure I get some of this stuff on here. So one of the things I saw on the list that you sent out of the picks that had been picked already was a Rode Podcaster microphone. And I get asked by a lot of people who want to start a podcast or want to record some audio, what kind of mic should I buy? And I want to make sure that I mention the Audio-Technica Atr 2100 USB. So I got to get this one out there. This is a USB dynamic mic, which in my opinion rivals the Rode Podcaster in terms of sound quality, because it's a dynamic mic, and maybe the Rode is too, but the ATR 2100 has some of the best background noise rejection I've ever heard. It sounds great. I've done side-by-side comparisons with a Heil PR40, with a Shure Beta 87A, with the Neumann KMS 105, which is the one that I use at my studio, which is like an $800 microphone. And the average person cannot tell the difference. And it's a USB microphone, so you literally just have to plug it in and you're ready to go. You can get it off of Amazon for like 60 or 70 bucks. It's so cheap, but it's such a great microphone. So if you know someone who's been thinking about getting into any sort of production, whether that's screencasting or podcasting, whatever, you can't go wrong with this mic.
Yeah, it does seem to be one of those mics that's a go-to anytime you see a posting on a forum somewhere. Like you said, what do I start with? This is one of the ones that everybody wants to start with.
Yep, it's great. You can even find like starter packs on Amazon, which have like a hard shell travel case. You can get the ones with the boom arms, and all of the packs that I've seen, which come with like literally everything that you need, are all under $100, which is ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, I spent so much money on the audio gear in my studio, and for under $100, I could get probably 95% of the way there.
Nice.
Yeah, I think we all have had that bug, where you think, okay, I need to sound a little better. I want to sound a little better. And when you start comparing anything to the Heils and the Neumanns, that says a lot about it. And for that matter, comparing them to the Rhodes, because the Rhodes are, I'm using a Rode, this is a Rode Broadcaster, because I prefer the XLR, but they're great mics. But yeah, this one is one that I've played with it, but I have not invested in one because I really haven't had the need. But it might be a good travel mic.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I got one initially. And at the time I got it, I think it was $40. I was like, well, why not?
Yeah.
But and I don't want to discount those other really nice microphones. I'm using the Shure Beta 87A right now. It's like a $300 microphone. So audiophiles will be able to tell the difference between those different mics. But one of the biggest traps I see people fall into when they say, I'm going to start doing this thing, is they go out and drop a ton of money on a bunch of gear. They try it a couple times and then they give up. So my advice is always just make the thing. And once you realize what you're doing wrong or where you need to upgrade, then invest some money. And with the ATR 2100 USB, it's quite possible that you may not have to spend any more money because it's just so good out of the box.
Yeah, and there is that hardware fever that we all get. Okay, I'm going to start a new project. Oh, I need this. I need the $300 microphone, and I need the $200 boom arm, and I need the $400 audio interface. And sometimes you really don't. You just said an interesting thing that audiophiles can tell the difference. This is podcasting, and unless you're doing a music podcast,
it's compressed anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure that really, and I'm right there with you. I'm a member of that club where I've spent a ton of money on microphones trying to make my sound just a little better. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about the content and not necessarily. I mean, you don't want to sound like you're underwater recording, but So
yep.
Good, very nice, very nice. You're being very practical this time.
If we do a bonus round, I got some ridiculous ones.
Okay. Andrew, round 3.
So this product is called the BONX Grip. That is BONX. These are wireless earbuds that are a little different than what you might expect. So they can do your standard things like make phone calls and you can listen to music on them. But what's unique about them is that you can connect up to 10 different people with this and sort of create your own little network with it, with the app. So you can have this live chat room almost in your ears, and you can talk to a bunch of different people. And it has this push to talk function. So it's basically like these little wireless walkie-talkies in your ear. So I thought that was really neat, and I'm actually going to be reviewing them sometime in the future. So I'm looking forward to that.
So this is different than like a mass conference call. How is it? Is it an ad hoc network kind of thing, or how are you connecting?
Yeah, it seems more ad hoc. You're connected over cellular, and they said it has unlimited range, although I think that just means like however long your Bluetooth range is.
Interesting.
Okay. But so if I'm connecting over cellular, I could have mine in, you could have yours in, Mike could have his in, and somebody in London could have theirs in, and we could just be having a group chat.
That's what I'm thinking.
Interesting. I'll look forward to that review. That sounds like, that sounds like it has a lot of potential for just like you say, just the ad hoc kind of things on a work site or with a particular team that you don't want to go through jump through the hoops of setting up like a Zoom call or whatever.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see a lot of applications where having that pre-configured in hardware could be a big time saver.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it could integrate with the Apple Watch's walkie-talkie function too, that would be interesting.
Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. Good pick. Interesting. So this is my confession time. I bought something because of a Facebook ad. I'm a little bit embarrassed to admit that. But it solved a problem for me. And I have to say that Apple does a great job of designing a lot of things, but the one thing they haven't done a great job of designing are their power bricks. I have yet to find a really good way to wrap my power brick or keep the cords from coming undone in my backpack. So I would like to introduce you to the Sidewinder. Now, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it works exactly as advertised. As you can see, the power brick sits right in the middle. And the only downside to this is, for those of you that have them, this you have to have on one end of the power brick, you have to have the long extension cord that came with some of the older older MacBooks or PowerBooks or whatever. If you don't have that, you have to buy it in order for this to work. But it's pretty simple. All the cables are wrapped in here. I want to make sure I don't block my mic. And then you just pull on either cable, and you go as long as you need. Sorry. You go as long as you go. And that's it. This sits in the middle, and it goes out from either side. And then when you're finished, I'm beating the daylights out of my nice microphone, you just reel it back in, and the cables go right back to where they were, and you've got a nice compact little package to put in your backpack. Now, I'm going to tell you, it does add just a little bit of bulk and a little bit of weight, but it's so much better because I've gone through so many cables because they got twisted and turned and bent, and you end up breaking them, and then you have to buy a whole new cable, or in some cases, a whole new power brick. So this has really solved a problem for me. And it is available on Amazon, so it's not like one of those, as seen on TV things. Very, very durable. Takes just a little bit of study to figure out exactly how to put it into the power brick into the Sidewinder. Not difficult. You just have to pay attention to the instructions. But once it's in there, it's just a very, very nice self-contained unit. So go and check it out if you are tired of fighting with the power bricks. At the moment, or at least at the time I bought this, it was only for the larger power brick. I think they now have both sizes for the MacBooks and MacBook Pros. But check it out. If it suits, if it solves your problem like it solved mine, you'll love it.
So for the smaller power bricks, does it still require the extension cable?
Yeah, I think so, Mike, just by the very nature of the thing, because you're pulling on both ends. I mean, that's kind of what makes it work. So you may have to buy that as an addition. That's probably the biggest caveat there is to it. But other than that, and, sort of like your long lightning cables, that's if I can have that and not really have it taking up any more room in my backpack or creating any more clutter, why wouldn't I?
Yep.
So
yeah.
It's nice. That way I don't have to try to figure out, what do I have mounted on here and how much length do I have? I always have the maximum amount of length.
Yeah, that's really cool because I do actually have a lightning cable like that. It's pretty much a very similar design where it's rolled up into this mechanism and you just pull it out when you need it. And then when you're done, you just pull it a little back and then it activates the spring where it just rolls back up into place. So it ends up being this really compact thing.
Funny you should say the spring part. I was a little concerned about that because this does not have a spring, and I was really hoping it didn't, because if that spring breaks, then guess what? You're out of luck.
Right.
This, you have to mechanically, by hand wind back in, which, what is that? 8, 10 winds maybe, if you have it pulled out to the maximum. But it's just one less thing to go wrong. So pretty darn well built, heavy duty plastic. But I saw it on Facebook, and it was one of those things like, I'll click through and look at it. And it looked really good, but I was, still a little cautious. And then I saw it on Amazon. So it's like, okay, I feel better about it now that it's on Amazon, because now I can return it easily if it doesn't work out. But it did, and I absolutely love it and can recommend it without reservation.
Opsgenie by Atlassian is sponsoring today's MacVoices. Getting alerts immediately is critical when an incident occurs. But that's not enough. Getting them to the right people, the people who can really make a difference, is what matters. That's why you need Opsgenie from Atlassian. Opsgenie lets you and your team respond to incidents the right way, the efficient way. Engineers get the engineering notices. Operations get the operations notices, not the other way around. Your team members on the East Coast get East Coast notifications, while your team in London get London notifications. so problems get resolved quickly by the team members who can handle them. I just logged on to a financial services site the other day, or tried to. It didn't load for an unusually long period of time, and then I got a database error message. Needless to say, I wasn't impressed. The site remained in that state for a good 30 minutes. Now that doesn't sound like much, but those were 30 minutes that I was an unhappy customer, and they were 30 minutes I spent thinking about moving to the competition. I'm sure that site wasn't using Opsgenie. If they had been, the right team members would have known, and as the downtime stretched beyond a few minutes, the issues would have been escalated so more resources could be dedicated to the problem. That's what Opsgenie lets you do for your customers. You don't know when your next incident will occur. Be ready when it does by visiting Opsgenie.com right now, sign up for a free account, and add up to 5 team members free. See what Opsgenie can do for you. That's Opsgenie from Atlassian at Opsgenie.com. Never miss a critical alert again with Opsgenie. Thanks to Opsgenie and Atlassian for sponsoring this week's MacVoices.
Nice.
So that takes us through round 3. And it's now time for round 4. So, Mike, you gotta make a choice.
All right. So one of the projects that I do is a podcast called Bookworm, where my podcast partner Joe Bulig and I read a book every 2 weeks. So we've read a lot of books over the last couple of years. And there's one book in particular that just blew me away, and I wanted to mention it here. And that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you are interested in the productivity space at all, you've heard about habits. You maybe have heard of that book, The Power of Habit, which came up with that model of like the cue, the routine, and the reward. Well, James Clear is a much better author and writes in a much more entertaining way and blows that model out of the water. This book, I think, is just it's incredible, and it's something that's applicable for just about anybody. So it doesn't matter if you are a high-functioning executive who's trying to squeeze out just a few more hours out of your day, stay-at-home parent who wants to reclaim a little bit more control. I've got 5 kids at home, so I know what that's like. There's really simple, the way he explains things is really simple. I'll just give you one example from this book, because he talks about how you either, to get to where you want to go, whatever your goal happens to be, the way to get there is not to set a huge goal and then hope that you hit it. The way to get there is to create the habits that you want to create, whether that be creating good habits or eliminating bad habits. And a lot of us get stuck, or we lose hope, and we lose sight of the reason why we start doing the habits, because we don't see monumental gains right away. He's got a really powerful way of explaining it, where it's like, if you want to become a writer, for example, what do? You create a writing habit. Okay, that's what I did when I started writing my book. I just showed up, wrote for an hour every day before I went into the office. 8 months later, I'd finished my book and self-published it. So every day that I showed up to write, James Clear would say, that was me casting a vote for the type of person that I wanted to become. And you cast enough votes, you win the popular election, and all of a sudden you make that switch where, okay, I guess I am a writer. Because when I started the process, like, I knew nothing about writing. I was not a writer. But if you show up and do it long enough, and he's got a whole bunch of different ways that he explains things like that, where it's just like, yeah, I get this now, and I can instantly see how I can apply this to my personal life. So this book is great, and James is kind of making the rounds right now. It came out, I think, a month or two ago. I interviewed him for the Productivity Show. I can put a link to that if people want to listen to it. But he's been on the Today Show and all sorts of other places. Like, this book is really starting to get some traction, and it's one of the better books I've ever read.
Please send me the link to the interview, and I'll make sure it's in the show notes too, as well as the link to the book. But that sounds intriguing. It sounds like you and I've had this discussion before, Mike, about some productivity models that they're more trouble than they're worth. Well, depending on the person, but they're tough to implement. This one sounds like it's pretty easy to implement.
Yep. Yeah, totally. And he has a really clear way of explaining both sides of it too. So he takes that 3-step queue routine reward model and he expounds on it. I'm not going to give away the entire book, but you should definitely go buy it. But so he explains like the missing pieces in that model, and then he explains like this is what it looks like if you're using this to create a positive habit. This is what it looks like the inverse of that if you're trying to eliminate a negative habit, and it just makes it so simple. He's a really, really good writer. He has a lot of really cool stories.
Good. Yeah, those are always fun. Nice pick. And I knew you'd get something productivity oriented in there. You didn't let me down. Andrew, last pick.
So I have another app. This is a game that I personally really like. It is Sid Meier's Civilization 6.
Yes.
It's a really fun game. Sid Meier's, they've had this series of Civilization games for a while now. I don't know how long, but over a decade, I think. So it's the strategy game where you play as a world leader of past cultures, and you're playing against other world leaders. Each of them is controlled by the game, so it's like AI. So, for example, you can play as Cleopatra or a leader of Rome or Teddy Roosevelt. There's a bunch of different names, but so you're basically, you're building a civilization, and you do that by building up and collecting resources. You're building each cities. And then you have to, defend your civilization and, build up armies, and you research all these different technologies, because to win it, there are several different things. There are different types of victories. So you could become a very scientifically advanced civilization. You could go the domination way and conquer everyone else. And I don't think you can do this with this game, but in the past you could have a economic victory where you just keep doing what you're doing and try to make the most money out of everyone. And so these games have traditionally been available on the PC and different consoles, but this year, they have finally released it for the iPad, and eventually, maybe a couple months ago, it's on the iPhone too.
The full game.
So, it's the full game.
Not that junky Revolutions crap.
Yep.
Okay, so I have a hard time participating in this conversation because I'm not a gamer, but this obviously rang a bell with both of you. Does this mean you both want to be dictators or something? Or?
No, you just got to play it. You just got to play it. One more turn. That's like where that phrase came from. Because it's a turn-based game, so it's not. That's what I always liked about it. I probably put 1,000 hours into Civ 4.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't have to make split decisions. You don't have to react the fastest. You just you pick your strategy, and then you do different things. You pull different levers, and like Andrew was saying, there's a bunch of different ways that you can win. So I don't know. I always would try to take one civilization and win one way, then win another way, and then try somebody else, because they've all got different strengths and weaknesses as well.
Yes. So Mike was saying, each civilization gives you like different bonuses, and it's a strategy game, turn-based, so there are different levels you can play, levels of difficulty. So this type of game really favors long-term strategies. You really have to try to think ahead and predict maybe what the other type of players are going to do and try to come out on top.
There's diplomacy and alliances and all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, do you remember Age of Empires back in the day, Chuck?
Never was a gamer, Mike. So,
all right.
Sorry.
I've heard of that, but I've never played it.
That was the really popular one, but that's kind of the same idea. But it was one of those real time strategy games, which is always why I hated those, because I would, in the moment, like, got to make a decision. I don't know what to do.
Yep.
So I'm curious, as this kind of game has evolved, have the graphics and all evolved with it? Does that really add to the gameplay, or is it more? I hesitate to pull out the chess metaphor, but the essence of chess or any game like that is not really the whiz bang graphics or anything. It's just the strategy. Is that what this is as well, or have they really enhanced it with the graphics?
It's the mechanic. The graphics are good, but it's the gameplay for sure. That's pretty consistent, wouldn't you say, Andrew, between the different iterations?
Yeah. I mean, they definitely have improved the graphics over the series, and there are certain things that they could do with the game that they couldn't before, just because the technology has evolved. But yeah, I would say it's definitely more about the mechanics.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that was the first game pick, so that's good. That's good. I love panels like this where the picks are diverse. So I guess I'm going to wrap up with a relatively expensive pick, but one that I really do love. I really prefer, if I can, to pick things that I have positive experiences with and can recommend from positive personal experiences. And one this year that's made a big difference for me is right behind me, and that is right there. These are the Audio Engine wireless A5 speakers. Now, we picked a HomePod in a previous gift guide, and the HomePod is great, and I take nothing away from it. And I think just like with so many speakers, there depends on what your uses are. There's not one that really suits all circumstances. I love these. They're on my desktop in my workspace, so that if I'm doing any audio work, I pump it through there, and I get good, clean sound. If I want to play music through them, they sound phenomenal. They have a bit of a flat frequency response, so I can color the music or the audio or whatever with that. They don't color the music for me. I color it or color the audio the way I want. But probably the biggest standout feature here, other than the sound, is the connectivity of these things. You have mini jack. You have the RCA jacks, the traditional RCA jacks. You also have Bluetooth wireless, so that I can connect any of my Macs to them just at the click of a button. They are so versatile, and they sound so good. And as far as power goes, I could, if I want to, I can disturb the neighbors with them. There's no problem with that. And it's nice, good, clean sound. It's sort of like the HomePod in that regard. The HomePod has a distinctive sound. Again, these are a little bit flatter. But there's a volume control knob. I think you can probably see it there on the one speaker, so that I can do an analog manual control if I'm sitting in front of them. I don't even have to reach for wherever the sound is coming from. I can just tweak it there. Should the phone ring, or should one track be mastered a little bit louder than the other? So these are really, really great. They are not inexpensive, so don't think that you're going to go and pick these up at Best Buy for $59.99. They're fairly expensive, but they are absolutely worth it. And if you are used to buying good gear, yeah, it costs money, but that's the price of it. They come in a bamboo finish. They come in a black finish. I got them in the white finish, which at first I wasn't sure about, but the more I have them, the more I like them, because they just have such a nice, clean look with the bright white with the black accents. So
they look sharp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I did a MacVoices briefing on them a few months ago, and so if you want complete details, visit that, or just go check them out at audioengine.com. But if you're in the market for a pair of desktop speakers that are more than desktop speakers, check these out.
Yeah. So, question for the wireless connectivity, is that something you can use while they're wired, or if you choose one connection mode, does that override the other ones?
Wow.
Could you have them plugged into your Mac, and then if you wanted to use Bluetooth, like still send like an iOS device to them?
I would think so, Mike, but I have to admit I haven't tried that. I've plugged things into them, and I've sort of opted for the Bluetooth wireless, because that way it can be my phone, it can be any of the Macs sitting around here, or anything else I want to pump it through. So I can't answer that, but I'll have to try it.
Have you used them wirelessly to edit any sort of audio or video projects? My issue with wireless speakers has always been the latency. Also, that's my question: is how bad is the latency with the wireless connectivity?
Let's put it this way: if there is latency, it's not noticeable, at least in my environment, to me, because yes, what you see, I'll move just a little bit, but you can see my MacBook back there, my MacBook Pro, and I edit a lot of video on that with pumping the audio to those speakers. So I don't notice it as being any kind of real problem.
Nice.
So yeah. And I can't stress how good they sound, especially if you're sitting in that proximity to them, and at that placement. I mean, the sound just wraps around you. It's absolutely comforting. Sort of like the crackling fire in back of Mike. It just it sounds good, feels good. So that's 4 rounds of some really great picks. And I love the diversity of the picks. So thank you guys very much.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So let's make sure everyone knows where they can find you when you're not here, because that's important too. Mike, what's the best place for people to track you down?
My personal site is MikeSchmitz.me. It's got links to everything that I'm doing there. Do a couple different podcasts, the Bookworm podcast I mentioned, and also Free Agents with David Sparks over on Relay FM. And I am, as we're recording this, just getting ready to launch my big new project is Faith-Based Productivity. So that's at faithbasedproductivity.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Happy holidays. Andrew, how about you?
Yeah, so I mostly tell people to follow me on Twitter. But since I mentioned Visco and I mentioned how I kind of do photography as a hobby, if you want, you can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I post my photos. And I try to keep the same username over all my social media. I think that makes it easier. So you can follow me most places at Andrew Orr Not. That is ORNOT at the end.
Great. Thanks so much for being here again. This is your second time, and it's a gift panel, and so we'll hope to see you plenty more times.
Yeah, me too. This was a lot of fun.
All right. Have a good holiday season. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is MacVoices. We'll be back with more holiday gift guides. We'll be back with more of all kind of interesting things through the holidays, because the Apple world just never stops, and neither do we. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our MacVoices Facebook group and get more out of your Apple Tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us at patreon.com/MacVoices and join these folks who help keep MacVoices coming to you. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.